Welcome to Uncopyable Women in Business. I'm your host, Kay Miller, also known as Muffler Mama. Stay tuned as I, along with my guests, give you marketing, sales, and personal branding strategies that will give you an uncopyable advantage. In this episode, I'm chatting with Tracy Marlowe. Tracy is the founder and CEO of Creative Noggin, an advertising agency she founded in 2008. Tracy has grown the company from $100,000 in sales in the first year to over $7 million in sales. She has over 25 years of marketing and branding expertise, and she's worked with heavy hitters like Disney and even the Air Force. And last but not least, we're going to talk to Tracy about her commitment to empowering women. So Tracy, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I'm glad to be here.
So we just chatted a little bit before we started recording, and we have something in common because we both work in male-dominated industries. And that's how I got my sales start. What did you say the percentage of advertising decisions are made by men? What percentage?
Here's the interesting thing. Over 80% of purchase decisions, it's actually like now they're measuring around 85% of global purchasing decisions being made or heavily influenced by women. And yet, the interesting thing is 71% of advertising creative directors are men. So there's a little bit of a disconnect because a lot of women don't see themselves in the marketing that they see. And there's a reason behind that. And that's part of why, as an agency, we are trying to change that.
It's just crazy. That's all I'm going to say. So let's talk about you starting your business in 2008, because as I shared, we have a lot of listeners. So you listening, a lot of you are business owners or entrepreneurs, or you are thinking about starting a business. So let's start talking about your entrepreneurial journey, and then we will get into the branding that really is your specialty. So what happened in 2008?
Okay, 2008, it really was more 2007, but I will say, I think for most women, there's some sort of a pivot point. There's some sort of a spark. There's something that happened where they took that leap. And for me, I was this career gal climbing the ladder. I was ambitious. I was very focused on growing within my career. I was very passionate about the industry and the work that I was doing. And then something changed, and it was that I had a baby. And in 2007, I had a baby, and that was, for me, it was a tremendous game changer. It completely flipped my world upside down, made me realize that my priorities were no longer the same priorities anymore. While I wanted to do great work, I also wanted to be really present in my daughter's life as a mother and feel that was the first time in my life I felt that tug of like business versus motherhood and in both places. And so I knew something had to give. And that's the point at which I ended up quitting my job. I was working in an agency where I was working late hours. Sometimes I was working until 10 o'clock at night and having to call my husband and say, can you put the baby down? I'm not going to be home tonight. And that was killing me. And so I ended up quitting my job and started working. I really just started working freelance and just doing some contract work. And then that just catapulted into really growing and building a business. And then that was the point where I realized that, oh my gosh, this is really a beautiful thing, because the business that I started in order to empower myself as a mother and as a woman so that I could have my cake and eat it too. I could work with clients I loved and do work that I was proud of at the same time as being able to go in the middle of the day and breastfeed my baby at the daycare and not feel guilty about that. That I was actually now able to empower other women that I hired as I grew and needed more help. It was attracting women like myself who really just were tired of the traditional work model, and they recognized that they weren't really able to show up as their whole selves at work in a traditional environment. And it just started attracting women who really just were at a point where in their career, they wanted to do work they were proud of, but they also wanted flexibility to pursue other things. Maybe not just motherhood, but I've got women that have a variety of different interests. And I had one that would leave early on Tuesdays to go be a DJ at the radio station because she was a musician and it was something she was passionate about. And I was like, go do that. And so I think just allowing people to do things that they're passionate about and that are important to them, and recognizing that we're all human and that we don't live to work. We work so that we can actually live real fulfilled lives. And so that was really became the focus.
The motivation. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's just a fact that women end up having to balance more than most men. And the child rearing usually falls primarily on the woman. And again, there's a disproportionate amount of men and women in business of all kinds. And you said the facts and figures you gave are just really hard to believe, but you are changing that. And that is really cool. You said that your agency currently is all women, and that's not necessarily always been the case, but right now you have all women and you're offering that kind of flexibility. And you know how rewarding for you to impact those lives. But I'd like to ask you the nitty gritty of how you leave a job and start an advertising agency. What was like that? And what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome? I'm sure there were many.
There are many challenges. Yeah, I would say that there's some businesses you have to start with a huge, giant pile of capital where you're investing in buildings and whatnot. And that was the nice thing for me was that I just really needed to start with a client, right? I just needed enough savings in the bank that I was able to make the leap and then start to grow the business slowly. And I jumped in and started. I got the first client, second client. And then I would say the biggest probably hurdle for me there, especially at the beginning, it's just funny, but okay, then I've I'm made the leap. I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to be independent. And then it was like, what? A recession? What's
2008. That was not the greatest time.
It was a big, crud. And so people were, we've got to cut our budgets. And that's the first thing that typically gets cut is marketing. That's the first thing people start looking at. And then I realized that I was going to really make this an agency. I needed a brand for my agency. And so we really looked at what is it that's going to be unique about us. And not only were we an agency looking to empower women, part of that was our business model. We are and always have been a 100% remote company. This is long before COVID. And back when people were like, you're what? I don't understand. And we had to explain that to them that at the end of the day, what you're hiring is not my cool building, which a lot of, at that time, agencies were investing in these really cool creative spaces, and they'd have a few top level people that would go out and win the business. Then they'd get these interns and young people out of college that would actually do a lot of the work. And instead I was like, okay, let's just look that over. And instead of having a building, zero building, you're buying the talent, you're buying the work, the experience. And we're going to hire, instead of junior talent, everybody's senior level talent. So I'm going to invest in creative noggins instead of buildings. And so at a time when people were really looking at their marketing spend and retainers and whatnot and saying, hey, what am I really getting for this? It ended up really ending to be a smart decision for us to really put that front and center. It became part of our brand. We told people we were remote right up front. We didn't try to hide it from people. And a lot of people just thought that was an incredibly smart decision. And they wanted their advertising spent on people, not on buildings.
Right. So it wasn't the Don Draper scenario.
Exactly. It was very different. And then my challenge became not, oh, crud, it's a recession. My challenge became that we grew 3 years in a row, 300%, 300%, 300%. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is hard too, is how do you scale a company rapidly?
Right.
In a healthy way.
It's a challenge, but it's a good challenge to have. So I'm curious about the logistics. Did you have connections with these companies that you ended up calling on or recruiting or whatever you call that? How did you get your first clients?
For me, honestly, it was lucky. I want to say to some degree, I got to a point and I just said, I'm going to email somebody that I know and just actually say, and I call it the universe. Honestly, I'm a universe manifestation type person, but I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to randomly email this person I happen to know that runs a business and just say, hey, I know you know me, just so you know, I'm on my own now. If you ever need marketing help, I would just want you to know I'm available. And they literally responded to me that day and said, oh my gosh, I was just having a meeting. We were talking about needing a marketing agency. Can you meet? And then that was my first. And that I was lucky in that regard.
You know what they say about luck, preparedness and opportunity. So it's not pure luck, but you had to reach out to prospects, and most salespeople, business owners, like I said, entrepreneurs, it's scary to reach out.
Mhm.
And so you had those connections and you knew the business. So that was an advantage. But still, were you ever nervous about adding new clients to your business?
Yes and no. There were times where we got big clients and I was like, I'm one of those, what? We got it. And then I'm like, oh my God, we got it.
Yeah, really.
How are we gonna do it?
Reality sets in.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, we'll figure it out. But yeah, so there's always that. But it's funny because I've had people say, you're in the hunt, like you're out hunting and you love the hunt. I love going out and like winning the business. And then it's just, oh crud, we have to figure it out. But you figure it out. You make it happen. If you're good enough to sell it, you're good enough to do the work. And I knew we had the talent to make it happen. But yeah, that was a good problem to have, like you said. And then having to hire our first team, that's always a hard thing too, when you're a person who's been doing it for a long time yourself. And then you finally get to the point where you're like, I can't do it all anymore. Because that's hard at first. You're like, okay, I do it this way, and now I have to hire somebody else, and they may do it differently. And there was a really smart CPA I had who one time told me, he said, there comes a point in every business owner's life where they have to decide, am I going to just stay the same size and just always do it my way and control everything? Or am I going to actually grow and scale and hire other people who may do it differently than I would do? And they might even not do it, and they may come to a different result, but that result may be okay.
I want to take a quick break to ask you a question. Does your personal brand set you apart and make you unforgettable? If you're not 100% sure, you need my free email series, 5 Steps to a Profitable Personal Brand. Sign up and get a daily email for 5 days plus a bonus, a list of personal branding shortcuts that will give you an uncopyable advantage. Go to beuncopyable.com/5-emails.
And so just being able to elevate, delegate, and let go. Somebody said this to me, and I was like, oh, I love that. But you have to sometimes let go to grow.
And those are leadership skills too. Delegating and then cheerleading and realizing that they might not do it your way. But as you said, your choice is either stay as you are, stay stagnant, but growing a little. But if you really want to scale, of course, you have to add people. I just want to talk a little bit more about your challenges, and then I want to get into your branding philosophy. But what qualities would you say you have that made this possible?
I would say probably the things that made this possible for me. I am incredibly curious. I'm a very curious person. And I think that's part of why I'm really good in marketing is when I get a new client, I want to learn everything about their business. It's not boring to me. It's incredibly interesting. And so I ask a lot of questions and really delve deep and get to know them. And I think that's why we do a great job with the marketing that we do, is because I hire people who are all very curious. I'm also very tenacious. I don't want to say tenacious I think people think of tenacious sometimes as stuff too. And so I ask a lot of questions and really delve deep and get to know them. And I think that's why we do a great job with the marketing that we do, is because I hire people who are all very curious. I'm also very tenacious. I don't want to say tenacious I think people think of tenacious sometimes as stuff like that salesperson, the used car salesperson, where you're like, they're got you cornered in the conference room and we'll let you out. And I don't mean like that, but I just mean that I don't give up easily. I'm going to come up with a solution. I want to come up with a plan. And if something doesn't work, I'm going to maybe try another route. I would say I'm really strategic, like to come up with strategies and not just try to go A, B, C. I'm going to come up with creative solutions. And that would be the other thing. I think innately, I'm a problem solver. I like to solve problems. That is great in marketing. And it's also just good in business because you're going to, as a business owner, nothing's ever black and white. It's going to always, you're going to have challenges, and yesterday's challenge is not going to be tomorrow's challenge. It's going to always be some new challenge. And you just have to be willing to continually look at things and solve problems.
I like your comment about curiosity. And you have read my book that I co-authored with Steve, my husband, Uncopyable You. But in my sales book, one of the chapters is think like Sherlock Holmes. So that's exactly what you're doing.
Mm.
And in my experience, salespeople, one of the biggest hurdles is that they don't listen. We've all dealt with salespeople like that. And so you're not only listening, but you're really looking for solutions and what will work for them, benefit them. So that is just a great mindset for sales. And I've talked to a lot of women who say, I'm uncomfortable with selling. And I say, are you uncomfortable with helping? Because if you look at it like that, it totally changes the conversation.
I
The
love that. And
qualities
I
you're talking
totally
about.
agree with that. I really do. It's funny because I remember somebody saying to me early on when I was young, they were like, you should have your own agency. And I was like, oh, no, I don't want to be a salesperson. That's exactly what I said. I don't want to be a salesperson. And now I don't see it as selling because there are people I say no to. I say, no, we're not the right agency for you. And I'm looking specifically when I'm meeting with clients, I'm interviewing them to be my potential client as much as they're interviewing me is the way I see it is like, are we a good fit? Would we collaborate well? Do I even want to work with you? Are you nice? And also, can I help you? At the end of the day, if I don't think I can help somebody, I don't want to try to take them on as a client. Yeah, so I agree. You have to think of it as a consultant, I think, instead of a salesperson. It's more consultative selling, like helping people. Right.
Exactly. And a lot of business owners, a lot of women business owners, but both men and women start a business because of their passion and they don't want to sell. But I'm not interested in selling. I don't want to have to sell. But of course, if you don't have people paying you, you're not a business, you're a hobby. So
Mhm.
I like your train of thought. And of course, I share that too, because we've all been sold to and had somebody try to close us, and people don't like doing business like that. And your willingness to walk away from the wrong client is also huge because, again, if you say no to a client and maybe they will become a better fit down the line, but you cannot build credibility and trust any other as well as just saying, no, we're not the right fit.
Yeah.
So that is huge.
Yeah, I agree. And not even being afraid, I will say to tag on to that, because this is important too. And you probably have experienced this too. Actually, I fired a client before because I fired more than one client, but I had a client that I actually fired. And I just said, this has become toxic for my people. I don't like them having to work in this environment. And they actually called me in and said, you know what? You're right. And what you're feeling is something that we're feeling because it's coming down from above for us. We're changing things up and we want you to give us another chance and we're going to completely change our process internally. And so they did, and it completely changed our relationship with them. And so not being afraid to say no, because sometimes we'll take stuff and then it ends up being like a terrible client and not a good fit. And sometimes you have to let those things go because they're going to impact your ability to be able to work with clients you love because they're eating up your resources. And
We actually, in our business, we've had our business for many years, and we have a set of rules right on our website. So exactly what you're talking about, rule of family, rule of fun, everything we expect our clients to honor, we also honor too. And so having rules and standards, it's great. And one thing that we've run into, which we have also fired clients, and one of the big things, we're just a 2-person operation, is legalese. We have a 1-page contract and they send it off to the lawyers, and all that has to be approved and they add a whole bunch of stuff. And we just say no. We just say no. We don't want to work like that. And we just can walk away, as you said. Any client you're working with, anybody like that you're putting energy into, of course, takes away your energy for what you really do want to do.
Mhm.
So we are much in agreement there. And as I said, I would like to talk now about branding because we are very much on the same page as far as branding. Your website is awesome. So creativenoggin.com. I'm going to put links in the show notes. You should really go check out that website because your graphics and your philosophy so creative. Let's talk a little bit about branding. And I don't know, one of the things I want to ask, do you do personal branding or is it just company branding? And you just talk about your philosophy about that.
I would say we don't do personal branding as a standalone service. What we do have is a lot of clients for whom we've helped them understand that a lot of times people, they want to connect with companies. So a lot of people come to us and they're like, we want to promote our company. We want to elevate the brand. We want more awareness. And sometimes we recognize that some companies have people within them where that person is the one who drove the company brand to begin with. And that person's a thought leader. And that person should be a spokesperson within that company. And so sometimes we will work with them to help that person have their own brand within the company as a company leader and a company spokesperson. And so sometimes we will help them have their own autonomous brand as that leader and help them work on voice and work on, sometimes we will actually manage their editorial content. We give them speaking points. So we do to some point help people manage their digital online brand in terms of content and basically brand platform and strategy and even management, scheduling and things like that. But we don't do it really as a standalone service. But there are
Right.
companies that solely do only personal branding. And I think there's good companies that do a great job with that.
And I do think you need both because when you're representing a company, that's the brand, but then you also have your own personal brand. And one of my big experiences was winning the #1 sales award for an automotive muffler company many years ago as one of just a couple women. I worked for Walker Exhaust, which is still around, and they had a brand, but to win #1 salesperson, I was competing with my fellow employees, the fellow salespeople. So yes, I think it is important to have both, but you're mainly managing company brands. So tell me a little bit about that. I know that you have a philosophy, and I think that you gave me a good quote at the beginning. So what is your philosophy on branding and how do you help a company communicate that?
Sure. We have a branding methodology that we leverage when we do either a new brand or we do a rebrand for a company. It's called real branding. A lot of times when companies think about branding, they're thinking about what's on the outside, right? They're thinking about the colors, the logo, the graphics. But we believe really strongly that we should brand from the inside out, that brands should be a real authentic representation of what's inside a company. And so we do a lot of digging. You'll go to our website and it says brands are like people. Each one has a heart and that's what we're really working to do, is to really unearth that. Because if you do that work beforehand, instead of crafting a brand around, oh, this is what we think the customer wants, so we're going to create the brand to try to attract the customer. If instead you craft it from the inside out based on what's really true and authentic, then the customer journey is far more satisfying and you're going to have much more loyal return customers that are going to spread word of mouth if they have a really authentic experience from the very first ad they see all the way through to delivery of service. Otherwise, oftentimes there's a disconnect if you're creating a brand based on what you think your customer wants. So that's really what we believe is just branding from the inside out, which I love because it's very aligned with your philosophy about the uncopyable you. And we believe that all companies are distinctive and unique. Everybody wants to say, we're like, okay, what's unique about you? And everybody says, we have great customer service. Okay, no, sorry, but that is not that's just the price of entry. If you, or we've had clients, healthcare clients, and oh, they're like, we care. And I'm like, okay, well, sorry, but if you don't care, you shouldn't be in healthcare.
We care. What's the opposite? We don't care.
But we really care. We care more. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but your brand is not that you care. It has to be something different and distinctive. And so it's really helping them dig down and figure out exactly what it is that's unique about them and that nobody else can claim. So that's really truly, and like you said, the uncopyable you, I love that because it is, everybody's distinctive, everybody's unique, and so are companies. And so it's really figuring that out and then using the brand to bring that to life.
And connecting with your prospect, your customer is huge. And like you said, it can't be some pat saying we care. Again, everybody cares. Do you help them? Do you have a process to help your customers, the companies you work with, define that? I'm assuming you do.
We do. Yeah. We do a really thorough discovery process. And then we work with them to put together the brand platform and the positioning and what's unique and distinctive about them. We come up with what's called their why. Why do they exist? And why them? Like, why should somebody choose you over all the other myriad of organizations? And then what are their differentiators? What differentiates them? And then putting together a brand that really, truly, authentically captures who they are. And that includes not just the visuals, but it's also messaging, your voice, your personality, all of that.
That makes a lot of sense. And we just have a couple minutes, and I would like you to end on talking about empowering women. Talk about what your mission is and how you approach that. Like you said, just tell us about how you feel about empowering women.
Yeah, I will say one of the things that we believe in empowering women, and the thing that's so fabulous about that is women are connectors. When you empower one woman, you're empowering so many more people than that because women touch so many people around them. And so oftentimes you're empowering a spouse, you're empowering children, you're empowering an entire family unit, you're empowering her network and her community because if you empower a woman, then she's able to give back to her community. And so there's so many people that women touch. And I think through empowering one woman, you're empowering so much more than that. You're empowering the world. And I do think that we're also, the wonderful thing is the reality is, like you said at the very beginning, women are used to doing it all. Women, statistics show, data shows, women outperform. We are used to doing everything. Women, GSD.
I don't know what
Stuff
GSD.
done. Let's just say the S. Let's just say get stuff done.
Oh, get stuff done. I see.
And so that's at the end of the day, we are really, women are more productive in the workforce. And so it's been a boon for my own clients and my own business because my team is all women. And when they come in, they are here to make things happen. And so that's an incredible thing. And we're just used to juggling it all. So we just simply know how to get things done. And then we also get women. So at the end of the day, if women are the real key decision makers in so many buying decisions, we oftentimes businesses they'll use attribution models to attribute the sale. Whoever's credit card was the one swipe, it was a male purchase. But we're telling our clients, you've got to stop thinking that way. You have to look at who is the decision maker on the purchase. You can't say, oh, this jewelry store, all of our demographic are men. I don't think so. We know who to do at the end of the day. Why? Who is the real driver?
And a lot of purchases are like that, especially like consumer goods for the home. That's the case in our household too. A lot of times we'll do the research together, but I'm the one who makes that decision. As we close this interview, one of the things I really like is your attitude toward empowering women. And that's what this podcast is all about. Although I have lots of men who listen and I love men, I'm sure you do too. But my experience, I'm older than you, have been around longer. And a lot of times women aren't backstabbers to each other. I really think that's changing. And it's really refreshing to hear what you have to say. We've come to the end. Do you have any closing thoughts before we let you go?
Actually, I would like to tack on to what you just said is that I think sometimes we have a tendency sometimes, or maybe younger in my career, women could be very territorial. Like I got mine here. Let God, but to take care of my thing. And we get head down and focused on that. But I think really looking forward, I want to encourage all women listening to this to reach around, look at who's around you and figure out ways we can lift each other up. Because at the end of the day, if we want the future to change for women, I mean, look, it's only been 50 years ago that we were able to get loans and credit cards on our own. So if we want 50 years from now, or even 20 years from now, the world to have evolved for our daughters, the only way we're going to do that is by empowering each other and by lifting each other up and helping each other. So I just want to encourage that because I think it's really important and figuring out ways that we can give back and just empower the female business community.
And I mentor a couple younger women, and one of them, with a huge compliment, she said, "You're almost like a second mother." And I learned from her too, because she's so young. She's got her finger on the pulse of technology. So I've made it my mission too, because I didn't experience women supporting each other in my career. So I love that it's changed, and it's due also to people like you and me. So, Tracy, I'm going to put all your links in the show notes so people can follow you on LinkedIn, go to your website. I know you are on other social media. So, you listening, check out creativenoggin.com. You will be amazed at some of the graphics and visuals and the philosophy that Tracy's company embraces. So, Tracy, I really appreciate you, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncopyable Women in Business. See you next time, and always remember to be uncopyable.